This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, where we discuss all the fabulous news in the wide world of sports. My name is Ben.
And my name is Alex, and welcome back, Ben, from your vacation.
Yes, I was in San Diego this weekend, a little tired. Got home from the airport just after midnight last night, so running on about a little under 5 hours rest. So I'm a little tired, but I will power through, as I always do.
Yeah, you're always about it. I mean, it's not you're used to waking up all early anyway because of your soccer games. So
I'm used to waking up early, but not going to sleep late. So
okay, fair
I guess
enough.
there's a little bit of but I'll be okay. You know, I can always go to sleep early.
Did you sleep on the plane?
I can't do that. I can't sleep on planes.
I can sleep on anything, man.
I think it's because maybe you're just so closely compacted.
No, I'm a tall person. It's not easy for me.
You
mean sleeping in a plane?
Yeah, I just can't do it.
Yeah, my brother can't sleep in a car, but I think it's because he doesn't like the idea of sleeping in a car. If I get tired, I'll sleep. Like, you know that old saying for cats, if I fits, I sits. You know, you see cats sitting in like really tiny baskets or things like that. Yeah, it's a funny like internet thing. If I'm tired and I can sleep, I'll sleep. Like, it's a possibility.
Plus, I mean, I was flying in from LA to Sacramento.
It's not the longest flight.
It's literally like an hour flight. So I mean,
that's an hour nap right there.
by time the seatbelt light goes off, you can walk around for a few minutes, and then it goes back on because you're landing. So it's like, I'll just power through it, you know what I mean? So it's not that big of a deal. But nevertheless, we have an action-packed show for you once again today. A lot of great news. We have our Final Four in college football set. So we have our national semifinals as well as all of our bowl games set. So we'll talk about the Final Four, see if the committee got it right in our eyes, as well as some of the notable bowl games. And then we will talk some NFL football. We had some interesting storylines yesterday, some teams clinching playoff spots, being the Dallas Cowboys after their win on Thursday. Talk about some of the games. And then to end the show, we'll just do some quick sporting news. We have the winter meetings in baseball. Today's the first day. So we have some deals that were confirmed last night, some reported deals being leaked out, or teams that will be offering certain players deals. So we're talking about that. Tiger Woods returns to action this weekend, or last weekend, you should say. So yesterday, he did finish 15th, which is great, but out of a 17-player field, not too great. To talk about how he did and what his chances are of recovering and things like that, as well as any other some big sports news that come up. But anyways, Alex, we need to start with college football. The Final Four are set. No surprise, the same Final Four that we saw in last week's rankings, with the exception of number 2 and number 3 being flipped. Alabama coming in at 1, Clemson, the ACC champs, at 2, after their 42-35 victory over Virginia Tech on Saturday. Ohio State, who did not play this week, in at 3, and Washington, the Pac-12 champions, with a 41-10 victory over Colorado. They are your Final Four.
I like it.
You think it's right?
Yeah, sorry. You looked at me for like affirmation. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it matters that Clemson and Ohio State flipped. They're playing each other. Yeah,
anyway. I didn't really get that.
Well, they decided, okay, Clemson has another win. Put them at 3.
Yeah, I get it. I was just like, that's kind of silly. Like, I didn't really, put much into that.
It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, I mean, Clemson can say they're the number 2 ranked team in the nation as they started the year, so that's good for them. Awesome, but. At the end of the day, yeah, it's not changing anything. They still play one another. The way it's set up as of right now, we have, obviously, on New Year's Eve, you have the Chick-fil-A Bowl, which is Washington and Bama. That's at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. And then you have...
It's almost a home game for Alabama.
Pretty close. Yeah, you have it's a lot closer to their home than it is to Washington's.
That's for sure.
And then you have the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl later that day. That's going to be the 3 p.m. game is the Bama game, and I believe that's 3 p.m. Eastern time. And then 7 p.m., so 4 o'clock over here on the West Coast, is the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, and that's Ohio State and Clemson. So they're playing each other no matter what, unless one of them was to fall to 4 or something. And that's at University of Phoenix Field in Glendale, Arizona, where the Arizona Cardinals play.
Yes, and you can tell that the committee is definitely very high on Alabama. They're giving no respect to Washington, the 4th-ranked team in the nation. They're 16-point dogs already. No pun intended, because they're the Huskies. But
yeah,
so they're already 16-point underdogs against the number 1 team in the nation. So that shows the respect they have for Alabama and not really the respect they have for Washington, who obviously blew out Colorado 41-10. A lot of that coming from the ground. Myles Gaskin, a really good night.
Well, it was an interesting day for Washington because Colorado, about halfway through the first, their quarterback got hurt. And he's an interesting style of play because he's kind of like, he's a decent thrower. He's a pretty good thrower.
Pretty good runner, though.
Yeah, he's mobile and he's gigantic. Like I remember when he played Washington State, he just kept getting first downs and kept dragging people with him. And he had hurt his knee and he had ankle issues earlier in the year. And he was just hobbled. Like he looked bad. His first pass, or his first drive after coming back from halftime with being hurt, he threw a pick six. The very next drive, he threw another pick. I don't know if it was the right choice to even have him in the game. His backup played in a couple games when he was hurt, and he won 2 games, against Oregon and Oregon State for Colorado this year. Excuse me. So I don't know if it was the right choice to go back to him, and I think from there they really just tumbled. It was 14-7 at half, and from there it was just a lock for Washington. I mean, they had two of the most back-to-back crazy plays I've ever seen in a college game before, where they had a touchdown where Jake Browning, who did not look great in this game, stat line.
Yeah, he did not really play that good.
It looked like the game plan was really run the ball, but he set up a screen on one side, kind of a fake, looked back to the left side because the screen was either covered or really was a fake, and then he had to roll really quick to his right side off balance and threw the ball away, quote unquote, but he didn't get enough on it. Looks like it's going to be picked off. Instead, one hand grab by the receiver takes to the touchdown, right? So crazy, another touchdown. I think it was like 30-something at that point to 7. The next ensuing kickoff, they kick it off. The returner runs it back to all the way to like his 35, fumbles the ball, fumbles it forwards, gets picked up by another Colorado player, runs it all the way down to the 5-yard line. And then they end up getting I think a field goal out of it, actually. So
yeah, it was a pretty interesting game on Friday night, but I think the best team did win that game. So
yeah, I agree with you on that.
And then you look at some of the other rankings. So Penn State comes in at 5 with their victory over Wisconsin, 38-31 in the Big Ten title game. Michigan at 6, Oklahoma 7. They defeated Oklahoma State 38-20 to win the Big 12. You have USC at 9 and Colorado 10, and then Florida State 11. So Penn State, that team just missing out, as well as Michigan. But for the Big Ten, pretty good. You have 3, 5, 6, and even 8.
Yeah, and think about, too, I mean, you're going to have probably one of the better Rose Bowl games now in a while. Think about the history of college football and like the significance of some of these teams, and say the Rose Bowl, USC and Penn State.
Honestly, yes, USC, you mentioned they are number 9. They do slide in just over Colorado, which you could maybe question, but USC did defeat Colorado, so I can guess they do have the head-to-head matchup. Honestly, I think USC will kill them. I think
their style of play is good against that defense.
USC are the one team that I think the top 4 are happy that they're not having to deal with right now, because USC are playing as well as anybody in the country, and I've said that for the last couple of weeks now. I'd love to see them get even just a little bit of a chance to get in there. Mm-hmm. USC beat Washington 26-13 on the road.
Yeah.
Do you think Alabama can't defeat Washington by more than 1 point with 3 weeks to prepare?
Oh, I do.
You know what I mean? Like,
and that's just because I know what Alabama does.
I guess the spread opened at 14, but now it's already up to 16, so everybody obviously likes Alabama. But it's like they have 3 weeks to prepare for a team that lost to USC 26-13, a team that Alabama killed in USC, much a different team now than it was in September, obviously, but still, they still beat them pretty handily in the opening week of college football. But it's like, that shows you how good Alabama is. Okay, so we have this Final Four.
Yep.
We're going to save these predictions. We don't want to predict them now.
Not yet. No, we have a lot of time.
Literally like 25 days until this. But we do have some notable bowl games. You did mention the Rose Bowl. You have USC and Colorado. When you look at some of the other New Year's Day bowls, For me, I'm excited Western Michigan's in there. The Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. They're going to be playing Wisconsin.
Yeah, there's a few that I'm excited about just in terms of matchups. The Las Vegas Bowl, you have Houston, who got as high as 6 this year, beat some notable ranked teams, and then obviously fell out. Going to end the year
and lost their head coach.
And lost their head coach, of course. And they're going to have to play this bowl game without him, so that's going to be interesting. They're playing San Diego State, who is the winner of the Mountain West this year, so that's going to be a good game in my eyes. Excuse me, you look at, and that's December 17th, so that's one of the earlier ones, That's really early in the year. You go through all of these. You have BYU Wyoming. That's not a bad game at all with the way BYU played this year. They're playing at Qualcomm in San Diego. That is the Poinsettia Bowl, San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl, to be specific, if you want to get into it. Navy locked up the Armed Forces Bowl. Surprise, surprise. You have the Titan matchup of Ohio and Troy. Ooh.
Look out now.
Exactly right. Excuse me one sec. Excuse me, man.
Bless you.
Early morning sneezes, these
little allergies.
Exactly, yeah. You move past Christmas now, and you have the Heart of Dallas Bowl. That's always a weird game, but you have the Army versus North Texas. North Texas getting a bowl game this year. I have a friend that goes to North Texas, so he's excited. And then, you're really getting down to some of the really late games before the new year. Boise State and Baylor should be a solid game. That is the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. You have the game I'm looking forward to, the National Funding's Holliday Bowl, Minnesota and Washington State, of course, in San Diego. My brother really wants to go. Excuse me. And then you start getting into the more obviously ranked games. You have the Valero Alamo Bowl, and that's a pretty good matchup. That's number 12 Oklahoma State and number 10 Colorado. And that's going to be a pretty good one from top to bottom, honestly. Stanford got the Sun Bowl, so probably going to win that one. They're playing North Carolina. But of notable ones, probably Michigan, Florida State. They hold on to the Orange Bowl, Michigan, after falling out of the top 4. Excuse me, the Buffalo Wild Wings Citrus Bowl. Those are two things that don't go together at all, Buffalo Wild Wings and citrus. But
you could maybe put some citrus, like orange
in your beer.
Squeeze an orange on top of your beer,
Yeah, that's LSU, who finished the year at 20, and Louisville at 13 after falling out of
Looking forward to that matchup.
Top area. That'll be a good game. You have the runner-up in the SEC, Florida, taking on Iowa in the Outback Bowl on the second day of the new year. Like you said, Western Michigan gets Wisconsin. So definitely keep an eye on that. And obviously the Rose Bowl, presented by Northwestern Mutual. And the All-State Sugar Bowl, Auburn and Oklahoma. So some good games. The real money games, obviously, around the new year, because that's,
of course,
that's how college football has always been.
Of course. But nevertheless, we are looking forward to it. We're going to be doing like a little contest here. We're going to have everybody pick bowl games, and at the end of all of them, we're going to see who has the most wins.
And then whoever wins just wins.
Just brags, and whoever doesn't, well,
just gets bragged at.
It's always next year.
Yeah,
we'll leave it at that. But so nothing wrong with the Final Four. We agree on it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would have been more hard pressed to justify moving things around than just letting them stay as they were.
I agree. When you look at how the committee's been ranking these teams all year long, depending on your opinion and what you value more, conference titles, head-to-head, etc., you can maybe have somewhat of a problem with Ohio State being in there. But for me, I'm not really let down by these rankings.
No, it's what I expected.
I think Michigan is probably a better team than Washington. I think Michigan's probably a better team than Clemson, but both their resumes and records just fit better than Michigan, so I don't have any gripe there. Penn State does have the head-to-head over Ohio State, and they did win the Big Ten, which has been the best conference all year. So I can understand why they're going to be upset. James Franklin and the Nittany Lions are going to be upset that they're not in. But I think Ohio State's just a better team. I mean, they were dominating Penn State until they had some fluky special teams plays that led to them losing. So I don't have any issue with this top 4 at all.
Yeah,
there's a lot of teams I would have loved seen get in there. Like Oklahoma's playing fantastic recently. USC is playing fantastic recently. Michigan has a claim. Penn State has a claim. But we're at 4 right now. We can't go any farther than that as it stands. So you have to just kind of narrow it down. I don't have any issues. I'm okay with this.
Yeah, I believe on Tuesday, Jeremiah on the football show, him and I are going to be talking about whether or not we think they should expand the playoff system.
I'd love to see it go to 8, personally.
I think 6?
I want to go 8, because with 6, then you have to factor in a bye week for maybe the top 2.
What about 8? Wouldn't you have to do the same thing?
No, you can go 8, 4, 2, 1. So I would love to see 8, because I think you can eliminate one of these non-conference games. So instead of maybe 3, you bump it down to 2, which makes you schedule smarter because you're going to be scheduling tougher teams because you have less chances against teams out of your conference, and it eliminates the chance of playing one of these like lower name unknown schools. You know what I mean? The North Carolina State Central Catholic University. Wow. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just throwing that out there. That's not real. But, no. You know what I mean? It eliminates the chance of playing one of these, like, cupcake schools if you have one less non-conference game. So you could eliminate that by one game. You expand the postseason one extra week. So I think I would like that more. But I don't see it happening in the near future. I think we've not really had any serious issues with the top four in the 3 years we've had this. Mm-hmm. Baylor, Oklahoma at the beginning in the first one. Last year, not really any problems. And this year, maybe Penn State, maybe Michigan, Oklahoma, but not anything too serious. So I'm okay with this. I'd love to see 8, though. I think 8 would be fantastic.
You're not upset that the South Harmony Institute of Technology did not get in the playoffs this year?
I mean, I thought they were there. When they played the Institute of Technology at that game, the ITT, I mean, they really handled them pretty easily in the Technology Classic Championship
the Tecmo
game.
Bowl.
In the Tecmo Bowl. So I thought they should have got in, but maybe they have to just play a tougher tech school next year.
I guess so. I guess they gotta set their schedule a little better.
Maybe they should step up and play MIT. I mean,
yeah, I guess so. Or ITT Tech.
I mean, maybe in a non-conference setting in a week one matchup, that would be pretty interesting.
I'm with you on that one. All right, well, let's take our first break, and we'll come back and talk about the Professional Football League and some NFL news and scores, and a pretty wacky weekend of NFL games. So we'll do that real quick, take a break, and come back and talk NFL football in just a minute here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we're back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, and it's time to talk NFL football. Now, Ben, you weren't here on Thursday, so who did you have in the Thursday night game?
I would have picked Dallas. I thought it would be a close game, which it obviously was. Mm-hmm. I feel kind of let down for the Vikings, that 2-point conversion, Sam Bradford. I guess you could have a controversial call on the roughing the passer straight to the helmet idea, but when you do look at the referee's perspective, the first thing he sees is the defender. I forget who it was. I think it was Lawrence. But
Marcus Lawrence, yeah.
Yeah, so you see his left hand hitting his shoulder pad and his right hand hitting his face mask. The referee is on behind him on the left side, so the first thing he sees is the shoulder getting hit, not the helmet, which is kind of blocked. So I guess you can kind of see it. I'd love to see that thing possibly being reviewed, or sort of a review there, but obviously that's not in the rule book. So I guess you can be a little upset for Minnesota, but I would have picked Dallas.
Okay, and now you talked about 2-point conversions. Let's get into some games from this weekend, and let's start with a game that had one of the most significant 2-point conversions probably in NFL history at this point now.
Unbelievable.
So we move to one of the first of the morning games, the Chiefs at Falcons. This was a shootout. It ended up 29-28, and let me tell you why. So good game. Not an amazing statistics, consistently across the board, but Matt Ryan played a good game, 297-1 for him. Alex Smith, 270-1, missed some open receivers there late, so that was frustrating, I'm sure, for Chiefs fans. Devontae Freeman, only 56 yards, but 2 touchdowns. A big late touchdown for the Chiefs by Albert Wilson on a fake punt. He ran it up the middle for 155 yards. I've never seen a fake punt open up like that. Travis Kelce led the way for Kansas City with 140 yards. Julio Jones, no surprise there, led the way 113 yards. So, back and forth, great game. As it gets down late into the game, significance of this 2-point conversion we're talking about comes around because earlier in the game, Eric Berry had an interception for a touchdown.
Yeah, he had a pick six.
He had a pick six, right? So he had a pick six early in the game. Eric Berry, for those of you who don't know, very good safety for the team. I'm a big fan of Eric Berry. He's one of my favorite safeties in the NFL, right? So he picked the ball off, scores. Late in the game, Devontae Freeman had a 2-point conversion, makes it 27-22, down by 5. With 4 minutes and 32 seconds left in the game, Aldrick Robertson gets a 5-yard touchdown pass from Matt Ryan after Alex Smith missed a wide open receiver to convert on third down, like wide open. He would have ran. He'd be still running right now.
So the Falcons go up by 1 with 4 minutes left. So obviously they're going to go by 2, try to make it a field goal,
3-point game,
field goal game. So that way the Chiefs would have to kick a field goal to tie the game as opposed to winning it.
Exactly.
But then that's where all the crazy stuff happens.
Yeah. So all day, honestly, Matt Ryan had been throwing really kind of into really congested lanes of passing. He was throwing into coverage a lot, not necessarily like throwing it to defenders, but he was throwing into guys that weren't very open. And so Eric Berry sat on the route perfectly, picks the ball off, takes it 100 yards pretty much, maybe 101, all the way back, because you can do that now if you block an extra point or a 2-point conversion for the NFL's first ever pick 2.
Yeah,
he had reservations for 2.
When I think of picks, I think of like going to Applebee's, like getting 2 entrees and a dessert.
I think of McDonald's. Let me get a McPick 2.
Oh, that's true too. But it actually goes down as a safety, so it gets a pick safety. So they go up 29-28, and that's the final score. The Chiefs win the game, improve to 9-3. I mean,
in seconds you go from being in the lead to being.
I don't think it gets
behind.
Any crazier than that.
Yeah,
because we saw the Saints and the Broncos that ended pretty crazy as well. A similar situation.
Yeah, I'd say it's a tie between those two right now.
I know that. I mean, that was pretty nuts. But speaking of the Saints, they did host the Detroit Lions yesterday. The Lions, for once, did not trail in the fourth quarter because they were in control all the way through the game.
Nor did they win this by 1 score.
I know. It's their first time in a game that's settled by more than 7 points all year long. They defeat the Saints 28-17. Matthew Stafford 341 and 2 scores. Drew Brees fails to throw a touchdown for the first time in forever, but literally 9 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Literally 9 years. They lose at home. Detroit yet again continues to impress. They moved to 8-4 atop the NFC North.
Yeah, we moved to a game of AFC NFC opponents, and that's the Patriots taking on the Rams, a game that probably nobody really had any idea that it would be a Rams win, So the Patriots win this one, obviously, and they win it pretty handily in the first game since it was officially announced that Rob Gronkowski will miss the rest of the season.
Yeah, put on IR.
Mm-hmm. So 26-10 in favor of New England. They moved to 10-2. They can stay pace of the Raiders, who we will get to in a little bit. Jared Goff, 161-1, and he had 2 interceptions. But man, oh man, 1 pick was his fault. But this team cannot catch the ball.
Can we talk about the most funny thing all weekend? It has really nothing to do with the game.
Sure.
The silliest thing.
Jeff
Fisher's contract extension.
That wasn't the silliest thing to me. Because that doesn't confirm his job. That doesn't make his job any safer.
But yet he gets a contract extension.
It moves
at
money
4
around.
and 7.
He could be making less money now. But what was funny to me,
just getting extended. That's the biggest joke of the weekend to me.
Well, what was funny to me is when he needed to challenge a play and he could not find his challenge flag.
Or maybe leading up how he's in a conference call talking about the Patriots running backs. Mm-hmm. He's talking about Brandon Bolden, who has 3 carries all year, and Danny. I'm not sure he's talking about Danny Woodhead,
Danny Woodhead,
who hasn't been on the team in 5 years.
Yeah, he thought
or maybe
Danny
he's
Woodhead,
thinking of Danny Amendola, who's literally never carried the ball for them.
No, he thought Danny Woodhead was not only healthy, which he's not. He was still on the Patriots. So
it's only been 5 years, Jeff. You might want to get up with the times.
Yeah,
but yeah, trying to challenge a call yesterday, and he just simply doesn't know where his flag is.
To be fair, he was wearing quite the big jacket.
Just has to scream out there, challenge, challenge.
Yeah, he's like, so I want challenge.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. But back to the Rams. This team, Kenny Britt, 2 for 67. He was targeted 6 times. I watched how many drops they had on him. One of the drops that led to an interception was clearly his fault. He can't hold on to the ball. It was frustrating for me because I'm watching trying to watch Goff. I'm trying to dissect because I like watching quarterbacks. I'm trying to dissect the way he plays, and they were not giving him any chances. He's not playing amazing by any standpoint, but again, the team
you
has
have to
around
get some
him.
help.
But he got no help. It's insane to me. And then we look at Tom Brady. He wins his 201st game, becomes the most winning all-time quarterback in NFL history, including playoff games, obviously. Winning this one, and he wins it, outright. Whatever. Whatever. That's what you get for playing in a weak AFC East for so many years at times, and being so good as a team.
In all due respect, Brady cannot control what the other teams do.
No, that's true. All he can do is control if he wins or not.
He does get some help. LeGarrette Blount, 88 yards and a touchdown on 18 carries, had a 43-yard touchdown really early in the game.
That guy just can't get tackled, man.
He's so big, and he's got good speed too. Julian Edelman, 101 yards and 8 catches. I'm sure he'll be like the top target now that Gronk is gone. So
yeah, him and Hogan will probably get some more targets.
And Danny Amendola also got injured yesterday, so maybe
Hogan
Jeff Fisher won't have to worry about saying Danny anymore.
Well, or he will. All right, let's move on. We have a couple more games to talk about in the afternoon, or in the early morning. We had the Broncos and the Jaguars. The Broncos win this one, a game in which Trevor Siemian was too hurt to play. They win this one 20-10 in the game that was nothing heading in second. No scores. It's one of the last games of the morning to not have a touchdown. We'll get to the next one in a second. Paxton Lynch, 104 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, but didn't have to do an insane amount to help them win again. They got a touchdown and got another touchdown and some field goals, and that's how the cookie crumbled in that one. It's kind of
definitely the story of the Bronco defense. Bradley Roby interception for a touchdown, and the Jaguars just a really bad team, 2-10. I mean, everyone had high hopes for them, and they've all gone.
I think the problem is they're so young.
Down to the toilet.
We don't know. Excuse me. So, moving on, we have an NFC and AFC matchup. We have the Packers taking on the Texans in one of two Snow Bowls yesterday. Aaron Rodgers 209-2. One of those going to Jordy Nelson for 118 and that touchdown. Texans just couldn't handle the conditions. Packers not great in the conditions, but they get away with a win in this one. I know you're happy about that, but they got a lot of work to do to catch the Lions.
Yeah, 2 games back, tied with Minnesota. Now it's 6-6 as well. So, I mean, they do have one game against Detroit, but it will be at Ford Field in Michigan. So maybe they can gain a game there, but I still don't have much faith in this Packers team. They're getting healthy at the right times. You know, getting Demarius Randall back. They have Clay Matthews back. But yet again, they're not controlling their own destiny, which is the first time we've seen that happen in Green Bay for years now. So they're going to need help. But like I said, they're getting healthy at the right time. The thing for me has been all year, it's the defense. In games where their defense gives up less than 30 points, the Packers are 6-1. Games where they give up more than 30 points, they're 0-5. Oh, so if they stop teams from scoring 30, they win the game. That's what happened yesterday, 21-13. Like you said, not really convincing. Both teams had chances. It was tied going to the fourth quarter. Green Bay gets 2 touchdowns, as you mentioned. Just changed the game.
Yeah, definitely. So, it's something to keep an eye on as we move forward. Now, these next 2 games for me, they were 2 games that I wouldn't have been shocked if you told me the winners were the ones that would win the game.
Blowouts.
But the way they did was surprising to me. So the Bengals defeat the Eagles 32-14. They moved to 4-7-1 on the year. The Eagles dropped to 5-7. Dalton, 332 yards and 2 scores for him. Brandon LaFell, 95 and a touchdown. It's a big day for them. You look at the Ravens and the Dolphins. Now, again, if you told me the Ravens were going to win this one, okay, I understand that.
Yeah, Miami coming in with a 6-game winning streak. But if you said, like you said, if the Ravens won, I wouldn't be surprised.
Exactly. But 38-6.
The way they won.
Yeah, exactly. The Dolphins not getting a score at least until the 4th, in which they got 6 points. Yeah, I mean, Flacco 381-4. I know he was closing in on his all-time yardage mark, high in a game. I don't know if he passed that. I don't know. They didn't say what it was. Dennis Pitta, his best game in a long time.
His first touchdown since 2014. He actually
gets another one. Yeah, 9 for 90.
90 yards and 2 scores.
Yeah, Jay Ajayi held intact there for 12 for 61. So
it's not bad, but
the Ravens had the best rush defense in the league.
And game flow. Once you get down 24-0, you stop running the ball. So
it's really weird.
12 for 61. He's averaging 5 yards a carry. So it's not terrible.
It's not bad. What's really weird to me is all these teams that are good defensively are good. There's no consistently good across the board. They're the best run defense, but they struggle in the pass, right, sometimes. And then you have the Vikings, who are one of the best pass defenses in the league. The Steelers are the number 1 red zone defense in the league, but you know the issues they have across the board. So it's crazy to me how many teams are number 1 at defensive spots, but not near the top as high, in some of the spots. So interesting. But 2 AFC North wins there for them. Now we move to the second of the Snow Bowls in this one, and was this the most boring game I think I have ever watched on a Sunday morning. is the Niners at the Bears. The Bears win this one 26-6. Colin Kaepernick, 1 for 5 for 4 yards, 5 sacks, 25 minus yards, ends up getting benched in favor of Blaine Gabbert, who came out immediately and went 4 for 4 and then ended at 4 for 10. But
right, so when I was obviously out of town this weekend, so I didn't really watch any games, just kind of having to follow them on my phone. I did not know the weather situation. So I'm looking at the box scores, trying to figure out what's going on in games, you know what I mean? So I'm looking at this game, and it's like the second quarter. I look, and Colin Kaepernick is 1 of 4, or like I think he was 1 of 2 for 4 yards.
At that point, yeah, he completed.
And Matt Barkley at that point was 0 of 3 for 0 yards. So and then I see neither team completed a pass in the first quarter, and everybody's running the ball, and I'm like, God, like, do they think that they have the worst run? Because the weather never came to my mind.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, oh wow, they must think that their run defense for both teams are just so poor. That's all they're gonna do. And then I see that Green Bay's snowing. So I'm like, oh, there's probably a lot of snow in Chicago, not too far away. So I'm like, good God, like Colin Kaepernick, 1 of 5 for 4 yards. As you mentioned, he gets benched for Blaine Gabbert, who threw for 31 yards, I think.
Who?
Blaine Gabbert.
Sorry, I just brought the box score up. Let me look because I pulled up a drive thing so I can.
But yeah, the Bears, like you said, as you're looking, 26-6, a huge day.
35.
35. So they're over 39 yards passing total. But Jordan Howard, huge day, 32 carries, 117 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Matt Barkley, 11 of 18 for 192. So pretty efficient. Honestly, I would have picked the Niners going into this game because I thought, Matt Barkley, third-string quarterback for the Bears. The Niners playing a lot better with Colin Kaepernick, but they just stunk it up yesterday. I mean, I guess we can now say that the Bears are at least better than the Niners.
Yeah, you could say that.
I mean, I guess you have to by default. The Bears 3-9, the Niners 1-11, 11-game losing streak.
Well, would you like the definition of the 49ers season? Would you like that real quick?
Sure.
All right. So the 49ers in this one, they get a blocked punt, okay? And they were deep in the Bears zone, and so the Bears are punting, backed up to their own end zone almost. And they block the punt, okay? They recover it, and they run it back in for a touchdown, the Niners. But under further review, and I mean, they called it dead as the play was going, he stepped out at the 4, okay? But unknown to the Niners, they scored a touchdown, so they're celebrating. And they're celebrating, and they get an unsportsmanlike penalty for excessive celebration. For a touchdown, they did not score. So they block a punt, run it back for a quote-unquote touchdown that they did not score. Then not only at the 4, because you can't pay attention. You have a one-win team that's so excited to score a touchdown. Now you're at the 19, and they ended up almost not scoring. They ended up getting a field goal out of it. That is the definition of the 49ers season thus far, losing 11 straight games. You had them blow out the Rams week 1, and you shut them out. And you had the Cowboys lose late to the Giants, and neither team has done the same thing they did that day since.
How the tide has turned.
You have straight wins for the Cowboys, and you have nothing but losses for the Niners. All right,
they did say that Chip Kelly will probably be back as head coach.
He will, because this is not his team. This is not his fault.
No.
If I was him, though, it might bounce. Oregon's looking pretty good.
So and now we move forward. We're staying in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
The Raiders overcome a 15-point deficit. They're down 24-9 to come back to defeat the Buffalo Bills 38-24. The Raiders improved to 10-2 atop the AFC.
You know what's crazy to me is, so I saw they were losing, and I stopped watching. I went to my buddy's house, and I came home to grab some stuff last night, and I saw that they won. They came back, and I was more surprised that the score ended up that way. But at the same time, for the first time in a long time, I wasn't surprised at all. The Raiders ended up winning. I was surprised they ended up coming back as strong as they did, winning by 14 points roughly.
Right. They go on a 29-0 run to win.
But I'm not surprised they ended up winning.
Derek Carr.
It's so crazy, dude. I don't get it.
Derek Carr, yet again, when his team needs him most, steps up to the plate. 260 yards and 2 touchdowns. Derek Carr, in games in the second half, when his team is trailing,
this guy's a lights out.
Has 13 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Literally carrying them in the second half when they're trying to rally.
Yeah,
it's been the Derek Carr show.
As a Steeler fan last year, they played the Raiders. It was a shootout, and the Steelers ended up winning it late. That was the game that Antonio Brown had 16 receptions for 200-something yards and a couple scores or something. Crazy game. I was kind of like worried about them then. I would be absolutely just looking down for the negatives heading into a game to play the Raiders this year.
Well, we all know about their offense with Carr, Crabtree, Latavius Murray, Amari Cooper. Mm-hmm. But for me, the defense has been like slowly improving. Khalil Mack has been good, but now that you're seeing the Raiders getting obviously more media coverage and recognition because they're doing so well, you're seeing how much Khalil Mack means to that team and how good he is. Had another sack yesterday. That's 7 games in a row where he's had a sack.
And a pivotal moment, too.
So exactly. Like he's leading that defense. Mm-hmm. Carr's leading that offense. You have young leaders. Actually came out of the same draft. So, I mean, you have young leaders on both sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. Oakland Raiders playing absolutely fantastic.
And opposed to a lot of teams that put together...
Nice.
Yeah, it is. Sorry, I cut you off there.
You're good, man.
As opposed to a lot of teams that put together receiving corps via kind of free agency, they did a good job doing that. You have Amari Cooper, whom you drafted. You have Michael Crabtree, who's definitely one of their best signings in years. And then you have a lot of pieces. You have Clive Walford, who you drafted, but you have Michael Rivera, whom you also drafted, but you have a blocking tight end you got in free agency. You have Andre Holmes as one of your receivers. A lot of good pieces that they really added to this team. You saw last year when they got Justin Tuck a couple years before that, and he was a good young. I think he did a lot for Khalil Mack. In terms of preparing him in things. You have Reggie Nelson, who I thought was a huge signing for them last year. And you pair him with a young rookie on the other side of the safety spot there with Carl Joseph. You get Sean Smith. Excuse me. So a lot of good players that they got through free agency, and I think this really, you have a good mix of veteran and young on this team.
Definitely. LaShawn McCoy, nice game on the ground, 17 carries for 130 yards, led the way for Buffalo. But, I mean, it was the defense for Buffalo just kind of gave way. Like, Derek Carr was never really under pressure the whole game. The offensive line's been good all year, but just like literally change of momentum right away. Down 15 to win by 14. 29-0 run, very impressive. Oakland improves to 10-2. All right, next game, a game that you're obviously very happy about. The Steelers stop the Giants' 6-game winning streak. They win 24-14.
The Steelers are on their own little 3-game winning streak heading into a weekend matchup with the Bills.
Definitely, the game was really in control all way by Pittsburgh.
Kind of. I mean, at the end of the
first half,
it was like a baseball game.
The Giants were in it, down 14 and then trailing by 14, driving the way, and then Eli does Eli things and throws an interception in the red zone.
Well, at the end of the first quarter, it was 5-0. And it's funny that you say Eli does Eli things because Jeremiah, through a lot of this winning streak, he was like, if Eli does Eli things, I was like, that's the thing. He hasn't done the things. But he did in this game with 2 interceptions. What was most impressive for me is Ladarius Green finally had his breakout of the season, his first 100-yard game of his career, as a matter of fact, tallying 110 and a touchdown. Le'Veon Bell, another 100-yard performance from him. It's like every week, and he's doing it without big runs, too. He even had a pass attempt in this game. It was like a pitch, he ran out and he just threw it away, but he would have had an attempt. Lance Jones had a rushing attempt as well. Call it a kneel. But yeah, I mean, a lot of good from this team, across the board. You had a touchdown in the second to Antonio Brown, just the personification of a Ben Roethlisberger kind of play, And then Eli, he played well at times, but 2 interceptions. I mentioned they have the best red zone defense in the league. They got down there a couple times and turned the ball over in the red zone. You had interceptions from you had one from Lawrence Timmons, Old Man Timmons. 2007 first-round pick from Florida State there in the middle. Got a nice pick. He was a big reason why they continue to have the number 1 defense in the red zone because he stopped them cold. And then you had second-round pick Sean Davis get his first interception of the year. We only have 2 DBs, actually now 3 with last week Mike Mitchell. But Artie Burns and Sean Davis, back-to-back first- and second-round picks of this year, both have 3 of the 4 DB interceptions this year. That is a great sign for Pittsburgh, who need young secondary help. So that's a good sign. Eli Apple, first-round pick of the Giants, also got his first interception of his career as well.
I still like Pittsburgh in the AFC North. They're tied with Baltimore. Baltimore is technically ahead because the head-to-head, but they will play once again in the last 4 games of the season.
They play on Christmas.
So I still like Pittsburgh. I still think they're that one scary dark horse team in the AFC.
It's kind of like you said.
You get a lot of recognition to obviously the AFC West. IFC West, to New England. But Pittsburgh, the offense is kind of clicking at the right time now.
Yeah. I would say with the additional Darius Green, this offense finally kind of has a piece next to Antonio Brown, especially with the way they use him, and then Le'Veon. And then you get some of the younger guys down through the middle. They really help you open up the field. I think if this was next year and all was healthy, you have Antonio and Martavis Brown and young Eli Rogers, and then now you have Ladarius Green, I would put them ahead of the Raiders as the offensive best team in AFC. But I think right now, with the consistency the Raiders are playing at, I put them at the number one spot of, just with how great they're playing. But yeah, this team is like you said with USC, it's a team you wouldn't want to have to face in the playoffs probably, because offense can win you games.
Exactly.
All right, let's finish out the afternoon and the night games. We had the Redskins and the Cardinals, 31-23 in favor of the Cardinals, holding off the Redskins. Carson Palmer, 300 yards even. 3 scores. David Johnson, 84 yards and a touchdown, as well as 91 yards receiving and a touchdown. So pretty great day from him.
He's fantastic. I really put him and Le'Veon Bell in that same category as, honestly, I know you can say Zeke Elliott as well, but I think Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson probably the best 2 running backs in the NFL right now because of what they do in the receiving game.
Yeah, I think Le'Veon's probably the most pure
I would say Le'Veon,
catcher, because you can line him up as a receiver. He had a touchdown against the Browns that he was in the far right receiver spot, and he just ran a slant, and he caught it through 2 receivers. So probably the best hands of any running back in the league. But David Johnson's right up there with him.
And David Johnson, only his second year in the league. He's going to be doing this for the next 6-7 years.
Exactly, yeah.
The kid is a stud. 9 catches, 91 yards, and the touchdown, as you mentioned. Arizona, I guess, technically gets a much-needed win, now 5-6-1, but I think they're still out of it.
Yeah, they hold. Yeah.
And then Washington dropping a couple of games in a row now, 6-5-1. They're still a decent team, but I feel like they're maybe going to get left out of the playoff picture. Yeah, there's some teams playing a lot better right now.
The hardest thing was the Giants to really keep pace, and they have the wild card spot now. If the Bucs keep playing the way they are and the Packers keep playing the way they are, the Redskins can find themselves out of there. All right, the Buccaneers played the Chargers, and this game was back and forth all game. A team that is now 7-5. I did not see the Buccaneers doing that. They
4-game winning streak.
28-21 over the Chargers, who dropped to 5-7. Jameis Winston, 280 and only 1. Melvin Gordon, 84 yards and a touchdown. The touchdown that Jameis throws is to Cameron Brate for 86 yards, and he has that touchdown. So 6 receptions, one of those being the touchdown, 86 yards total. You look at him on the day, Jameis Winston had a great game. Doug Martin, 45 yards, but he did get a score. Good performance from the Buccaneers. They're finding ways to win. They're not getting amazing production from their 2 stars on offense, but they're finding ways to win.
And they really did it without Mike Evans yesterday. Didn't he really have much of an impact on the game? He's been a stud all year long.
Yeah, 38.
Really his whole career. So, I mean, like you said, they're finding ways to win. Now, with the Falcons losing, they are tied atop the NFC South, which, I mean, I didn't see that coming. But like
their
you
defense
said,
is really
playing
well,
better. 4-game winning streak.
Yeah, Levante David had an interception for a touchdown with 15 yards on that touchdown as well. So, yeah, finding ways to win. And a strong way to win also. All right, last but not least, we had just shellacking.
That's a good way to put it.
40-7, Seahawks defeat the Panthers, a game that the Panthers won last year. The Seahawks moved 8-3-1. The Seahawks moved 8-3-1. The Panthers dropped to 4-8. This is a game that Cam Newton did not start because of disciplinary reasons.
Yeah, I want to talk about that, but we'll say some of the stats first.
Okay, so Cam Newton did finish the day 182-1. Nothing great. He didn't get sacked. He added 3 for 12. Jonathan Stewart did not have a good day at all. Believe me, I have him on my fantasy team. 11 for 50. He fumbled the ball. I think he was held out of the game a lot too. I hate that fumble and punishment stuff. It's not high school. Russell Wilson, two good plays in this one for me. Sorry, I lost kind of my train of thought there. 2 really impressive plays, Russell Wilson-esque plays. So we're finally seeing him really move a bit more. He had a 3 for 29 there, but 26 for 36, 277, touchdown and a pick for him. He was still kind of running for his life at times. 3 sacks, 21 yards. Trevon Boykin ended up coming in the end of the game, because they were up so high. Thomas Rawls, though, his best game of the year, obviously having been injured, 15 for 106 and 2. Pretty impressive day for him. Jermaine Kearse, leading receiver, 5 for 68. He had 10 gid over on the Carolina side. His touchdown was Cam Newton's only passing for the night, 80 yards on 5 receptions. Devin Funchess, 2 for 44. Greg Olsen and Kelvin Benjamin both held in check. Let's talk about Cam Newton before we take our last break.
Definitely. So
yeah, let's talk about it.
So Cam Newton, as you mentioned, gets benched for the first series of the game for a dress code violation. It's for not wearing a tie when traveling. So I can understand that.
And they stayed on the West Coast because they had a game in the West Coast prior, so they did not go home.
Right. So I can understand that. I can understand some sort of punishment for violating team dress code. But here's where my issue comes into place. So what the Panthers decided to do is bench Cam Newton for the first series, which really turned into one play because Derek Anderson throws an interception.
Which was not his fault.
It was not. It was, a tipped ball. It was maybe
a caught, brought into his chest, and thrown in the air by Mike Tolbert ball.
Maybe he had a little too much on it. Maybe he had a little too much mustard on the hot dog. Threw it a little too hard. But like you said, not entirely his fault. But nevertheless, you have Derek Anderson come in on the first play and throw an interception.
Yep.
I'm not going to say they lost the game because Derek Anderson threw an interception. You don't lose 40-7 because of one play. You know what I mean? But it kind of sets the tone for a bad night. You get what I'm saying? Starting out the gates like that, on the road, CenturyLink Field. I guess you could say, why go this far to bench him for one series? Is benching him for one series going to do any good? I can understand a fine, but you're going to bench your star.
Hey, you know what?
Do you think Cam Newton, cares about one series of the game? Do you think that's going to do anything to get him to not do this again? Especially when the team is 4-7 and completely done.
You know what I like about it is, the team is 4-8. You're a loser.
During the game, it's 4. So,
so you're 4-17 going the game. You are a team as a whole. You are a loser. Okay, you're not going anywhere this year. And he may not have done it on purpose, but just because he's the MVP, the reigning MVP, I'm not going to treat him differently.
I'm not saying I'm treating him differently, but
I know.
Why benching him for a series? How about a fine?
Because, if Ron Rivera decided that's what was... I love Ron Rivera as a coach because...
I have a lot of respect for him.
If he was my coach, I wouldn't do stuff like that. And I would think I would respect him more because it doesn't matter to him if it's Derek Anderson, Ted Ginn Jr., Fozzie Whitaker, Corey Brown, Cam Newton, or, Brenton Burson. If you do it, he's going to bench you. It's just not as notable because you're not the starting quarterback. I'm fine with it. Don't forget his tie there. He didn't have a dress shirt or something like that. And he said, on short notice, it's kind of hard to find a dress shirt for somebody who's 6'5". You got a lot of money, Cam Newton. Figure it out. I'm sorry that you didn't have it. You maybe plan ahead. I don't know the whole situation, but I'm 100% okay with it. It's just literally the worst way it could have gone.
Right.
Maybe they should have.
Or maybe you could run the ball.
Well, you're not gonna just go out there and be like, "Oh, Cam's not in there, just run the ball." Who cares?
Maybe on the first play of the game, you might run the ball.
But that's probably what they expected. And the pass was there; they would have gained 5 yards. Tolbert just can't catch it because it bounced off his belly.
I understand, but it's just do you think benching him for one series, so a 3-and-out or maybe 10 plays that results to a field goal or something, do you think that's going to teach him any lesson? I think it sends a
message to the team more than it teaches him a lesson. You have that conversation with him on your own. I think it tells the team, it doesn't matter who you are. You can be a 4th-round pick, you can be a middle receiver, or you can be our number 1 MVP quarterback. You're not better than anybody else. So I like it. So.
I guess so. And then the other big storyline from this game, some sort of bad news for the Seahawks, is safety Earl Thomas breaks his leg in the second quarter of the game. He's going to be out at least 6 weeks.
He got really philosophical.
He's I'm going to put contemplating in air quotes, contemplating retirement. Yeah. I don't take that too serious.
I think the way he said it, because he was like, I don't really know what's going on right now. I have to consider every option kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't really take that too serious.
Yeah, I was very
He's going to be out at least 6 weeks, so at least, obviously, 6 weeks. Maybe he returns for a divisional playoff game if he gets a speedy recovery. Mm-hmm. But, who knows? I think a broken leg, especially for Earl Thomas, a guy who is so physical and so fast off the jump, he's going to need probably more time than 6 weeks, I would imagine. So we'll have to wait and see. But definitely a bad situation for the Seahawks.
Yeah, that's too bad for
them.
Really,
in my eyes, the leader of their defense.
Yes, I definitely think I loved him coming out of Texas. I thought he was a great player. And, yeah, it's sad to see him go. We saw last year what really happened with them when Chancellor wasn't playing, So I think it might be even more significant with somebody like him out. So, all right, let's go ahead and take our last break, and then we're going to come back and talk a little bit of sports news before we get going here. So let's do that, and we'll be right back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
So, Alex, Matt Holliday has a brand new team.
You know what? You told me this before we started the show. I did not know he was even leaving the Cardinals.
He signs a one-year deal with the Yankees for $13 million. Matt Holliday really struggled last year, dealt with a lot of injuries. Obviously, he's going to be turning 37 next month, so he'll be playing in his
still a strong hitter.
37. He's still, I guess you could say, over 20 home runs last year, but I think it's a good piece for the Yankees, a good young team, a good young core to add a leader like Matt Holliday, a guy who can maybe play some DH possibly after they got rid of Carlos Beltran.
Absolutely.
So possibly, but 1-year deal, I'd say it's maybe his last or one of his last serious deals, especially if he has some injuries. So I guess it's not a bad deal. You can kind of be a leader to some of these young guys out there in the outfield and some of their young players in general. They have such a young core. Gary Sanchez obviously expects a breakout year by him with sort of his breakout couple of months he had at the end of the season. So the Yankees are that one team that kind of reminded me of the Cubs, like maybe a year or two away from being that next young phenom because of all those young...
If they can put it all together.
All those young prospects they have. So Matt Holliday agrees to a new deal. And then obviously, as I mentioned, we have the winter meetings going on. So we have reports that a certain closer might be targeted by a team out in Miami, and that's Kenley Jansen, last year playing for the Dodgers.
He's targeted by a lot of people right now.
The Marlins are looking at maybe giving him a 5-year deal worth $80 million, and they would also give up the 14th pick in the MLB draft to try and bring in Jansen. Good move for Miami or no?
I mean, they need a closer. It is the most... I don't know.
A lot of teams need
I don't
a
know
closer.
I don't know how to say this without being kind of inconsiderate, but unfortunately they have lost their ace. And that is that's horrible, but they don't have an ace anymore. So there's a lot of pitching things that need to be addressed. It all comes back to the fact that yes, baseball has to keep continuing. But there's a lot of pitching they need to address, and there is some good young pitching there. But yeah, they need a closer. They definitely need a closer. And they shelled out some money. I forget the guy's name a few years ago, and he was god awful for them. So I don't know if that's really the direction that they need to be going. Is a high profile closer. I think they have other pieces they need to take care of maybe sooner. I think they should be on the Edwin Encarnacion train because he's looking to get traded. Apparently, the Rangers are the number one team, kind of looking to him, but they need position players. They need guys that can stay healthy. Jose Reyes, you have a good player there. Or sorry, not Jose Reyes. You have D. Gordon over there. Still, Jose Reyes is gone. But and then obviously you have Giancarlo Stanton in the outfield. You have some good young pieces. You need some more position players, and then you start talking from there. Get some guys that can contribute on the field, not just guys that are closers who you need to be winning in the first place to even let them in the game. So
Jansen had 71 appearances last year, 47 saves, 53 opportunities. So that's not bad. But am I going to give $80 million to a 5-year contract for a guy who's not going to play every day?
It's the Marlins,
for me, not so much. Miami competed last year for a stretch. They were in the wild card for a stretch. Then Stanton got injured. You had the unfortunate incident with Jose Fernandez. So for me,
that was really at the end of the year.
Like you said, I would go with positional players, maybe some sort of starting pitching, a guy who might pitch a little more. But I mean, Jansen's a really good closer. He's pretty young too, only 29. So I could understand it, but I think there's other needs. We'll have to wait and see. This is not any confirmed deal or anything. It's just being reported that they're going to offer him that.
Yeah.
But for a team maybe like San Francisco, who certainly needs a closer,
I would love it.
They're going to have to match that, at least make it a little more, a little more sexy, a little more money involved. So
or they're really going to talk about the likelihood of them being a more likely playoff team than the Marlins.
I guess it's kind of like here's what they're offering. What else can you do? What can you give me more? So I guess it's kind of that.
I get you. I agree with you on
that stepping stone. So Tiger Woods finishes 15th out of 17th at the Hero World Challenge. Like you said, finishing 15th, that's not bad, but out of 17 people, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
never mind.
He started the weekend off well. I forget who he was playing with, who he's partnered with, but he ended up having to withdraw from the competition. And then a day that Tiger didn't have any bogeys, he played great.
Yeah, throughout the tournament, he finished with 24 birdies, so that's not bad. But yesterday, he shot a final round 76, which is the highest score of any player in the entire week. So he shot the worst round of the entire week.
Yeah.
Do we think he can ever win again, let alone a major?
Maybe if they let him play by himself, because he looked really good when he played by himself. You know, and this is a course that he knows very well. He's won there a lot. Most recently, obviously, 2011. He hasn't won a lot since 2011, but he still has a lot of good in him. It's just not consistently. You know?
I can't trust him. I don't think he'll ever win a major again. That's for sure. Maybe he'll win one of these lesser tournaments, something like this, but I don't think he ever wins a major again. I think the injuries, the age, the time he has sort of left off since winning one, since really his Thanksgiving golf club car accident. But anyways, I don't think he'll win another major. Maybe he wins like a lesser tournament, but I think we've seen the best of Tiger. All right, so now let's preview Monday Night Football. We have the Colts going to MetLife Stadium to take on the Jets. This is kind of an ugly game. I think that it means more for the Colts, so I'll say they win a close game on the road. Yeah,
give it to the Colts. I think it's still a better team. You got Andrew Luck back. The Jets' defense is just bad, so I'll give it to the Colts.
Okay,
I'm going Colts in this one. I go the road team.
I agree with you, but I think it'll be a close game. I think both teams will have a shot. But anyways, guys, that is going to conclude our episode of the show today. Felt like we did a really good job. Went a little longer than we might have wanted to, but that's okay.
Thanks for sticking in there with us.
Anytime you're talking sports, it's always a good thing to be around. So for Anthony, who is not here, my name is Ben.
And my name is Alex.
And we are signing off here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. And we will be back tomorrow. Alex will be in the studio by himself. We'll be talking some Monday Night Football as well as all the other great news in the world of sports. So don't you guys go anywhere. We'll take a little break for about 23 hours. And we'll see you tomorrow at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.